Hello everyone, Rorius here. Today is a special day for me. It marks the 6th-year anniversary for the release of Portal Unity, a mod that some friends and I made back in high school for Portal, of course, Valve's Portal. We made this mod at high school, and it took us about 9 months to make in total. To celebrate the anniversary, I thought, why not do a developer's commentary style let's play and talk to you guys about some of the things that went through my mind when developing some of the levels and developing some of the concepts. And if I have time, I might even show some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, like the stuff that we made that didn't get included for whatever reason, and maybe even show you the work that was done on a reboot that I was working on for Portal 2. Hopefully you'll enjoy what I have to show. Let's get straight into it. Alrighty, so we're in. Now, I thought I'd just give you some background on the mod. This scene at the very start, funnily enough, was the very first scene we made. Let's just get straight into this.
Oh, I see you're awake. Welcome to Aperture Science. Today you will be tested on the use of the Aperture Science handheld fiddle device. I will be your guide through the testing sequence. I will monitor you and record your movements to help gather information for the research we're doing on the device. Oh, listen to me blabber on. Once again, welcome, and I hope your testing goes well.
Yeah, I was the map creator for this. So all of these little details, like fleeing out to flush the toilet,
Your business is appreciated.
and opening and closing this little booth, whereby I thought they were good ideas for some reason. Wow, this is loud. I don't think I had any real knowledge of volume control when I made this.
The button to the right of the chamber will drop an Aperture Science weighted storage cube. These boxes are weighted specifically to hold down Aperture Science heavy-duty super colliding super buttons, like the one seen on the left of the chamber.
Yeah, so basically, we wanted to go for the same feel as Portal 1, where you had to go through the introductory maps, introductory tests, and learn the basic functions of Portal. This is something that I don't know if everyone noticed, but I really wanted this to work. But I never got it to work. So just, oh, actually, no, I did. Oh, no. No, it's just gone out of the map. So yeah, I tried really hard to get this to work properly, but I never could. I believe I managed to fix it. Oh, that's what you can throw in this early in Portal 1. Oh, I used to be so good at... There we go. Lol. I believe in the recreated one that I made for Portal 2, I made the radio correctly stop playing music, but I couldn't figure it out at the original time. Now, okay, so this random drop, this was actually planned out, because originally we had planned to make a lot more features, one of which was the ability to, well, in Portal originally you don't take any fall damage. We were planning on making it so that you did take full damage, and so falling down here was an example of you taking damage, the first example. But the suit that we wanted you to get that would give you no fall damage, we couldn't figure out how to implement that properly, and we couldn't figure out how to implement HUD properly because we were brand new. We were just making maps at the beginning. We had no plans on retexturing anything, like doing any of these new textures. We had no plans for anything except the maps themselves. So since we weren't able to implement the full damage or versus no full damage, that drop made no sense at the end of it. But we left it in. we didn't have time to remove it. Yeah, we were trying to release for a time before Portal 2 came out, with the intention that when Portal 2 came out, people would be playing that and wouldn't have the attention for a mod for Portal 1. And so, yeah, we actually managed to release it just before Portal 2 came out, about a month before Portal 2 came out. And that was actually like the peak, that was almost the perfect time to release it, because everyone was so excited for Portal 2, so they were busy playing Portal 1 stuff to, you know, satiate their thirst, if you will, for Portal. So we released it at a good time.
Two doors will open in the walls that will allow you to reach the other side of the chamber. These are what we call portals. Simply put, they are windows that are linked in time and space that link to one another when entered. Give them a try.
Yeah, so this was supposed to be an imitation of the original Portal in Portal. The fact that you could see yourself entering and exiting. That we placed the glass there so that you'd be able to see yourself. It's like a not quite as nice version of the trick that they did in the original Portal, the very first section. Yeah, and so I was the map designer. My good friend Daniel was the texture artist and music collector. He's actually really good at making music, but at this point in time we were just collecting, finding music to go with the game. And he's the one who found that jazzy piece that you heard at the start there. And he figured out how to make the portal look really nice and clean. We were going for a really clean, very clean, sort of pure look to everything. Hence the super, super clean, flat, white textures. And I'll actually talk about the voice acting in a minute as well, because we had two voice actors. I was one of the voice actors. And it was probably the part that I regret the most. But anyway, we'll just go about our business. So yeah, one of the things we did was we wanted there was quite a bit of orange look in the original Portal, and we wanted to swap that out for a real blue, cool look. Really sort of make the environment feel even more depressing. Even more cold and clinical. Yeah, unfortunately these signs don't correspond to what's actually in the puzzles. We were not able to figure out how to do that for some reason, or perhaps we didn't think we needed to put in what was actually in the map. Yeah. These chambers were designed with a view from one section of the chamber. I believe the camera was up here when I was designing the map, with a real sort of stage presence. Unfortunately, a lot of it doesn't translate quite as well when actually in the game. You have to do things like that to really see it.
What you've picked up there is an Aperture Science handheld portal device, or portal gun for short. You can use this to create portals of your own.
Yeah.
Use it to get yourself out of this room.
We wanted to have big spaces like this to help to emphasize the thing I was mentioning before about the cold, clinical feel. Having massive rooms like this, we felt just made the player feel even smaller and insignificant. So that's why we have such massive open rooms in a lot of places. We're about to walk into a room that's very small though. One of the few small spaces. Yeah.
Portals are very easy to use in many situations. Try using both portals to find your way to the top of this chamber. Also, note the emancipation grid. These not only dissolve objects, they also cause any portals you've placed to fizzle and disable themselves.
I believe the emancipation grid she's talking about is actually up in the door there. I was a little bit disappointed by the difficulties we're having with the voice acting. I'll talk about that later, but one of the things we wanted with this particular map was we wanted you to be able to see everything. We wanted to make the player look up, because looking up is actually really important in a lot of the Portal games and Portal maps. So we designed this chamber to make the player look up as much as possible, and from the bottom you can see the entire puzzle essentially. It's not really, hardly even a puzzle. It's actually a replication of the puzzle, the in-out portal puzzle that happens near the start of Portal 1, where you have to enter a blue portal to get to an orange portal that's on a raised platform, and then you have to use your blue portal on the other side of the map and go back through the orange portal. We wanted to replicate a lot of the functions of the portals that you see in the early Portal test chambers, to try and reiterate that this was a reimagining of the original Portal. So yeah, you gotta see the orange portal's placed up here automatically, so you have to go through this one, place a portal up the top that you can't reach from here, and walk back through the orange portal.
You were well on your way to becoming a top-notch twist subject.
Having the glass was really important so that you could see everything. We originally had them as just platforms, but because the player couldn't see anything, they had no, it was simple enough to figure out, but it just wasn't visually appealing in the same way that having the glass floors was. And at the start, we did have some areas where we wanted some apparently natural light coming through, but we had real difficulties with figuring out, well, I had real difficulties figuring out where to put light, because I was new and I didn't know what I was doing. Natural light was severely altered, if you will, fixed, in the recreation that I was doing, that I never released, that I might play as part of this video. Or maybe I'll make another video of me playing the recreation. Yeah, so a lot of these early maps were designed to be reimaginings of puzzles that came about in the original game. So yeah, this one was designed to be like
Here's a useful tip for this chamber. Just like you, boxes and other items can be moved through portals.
Yeah, so this was designed to be like the box puzzle at the start of Portal 1, where there's the box up on a raised platform and there's a box down a pit, trying to get the players to look around as much as possible. Because we wanted this to be a small space, unlike the previous ones, we had real difficulty getting the pit one to work the way we wanted it to. So, yeah, we had to put a little slit in the glass there. We had to put glass all around and put a slit in there. So yeah, this works the same way, where you have to go through this one, and then go back through the orange one. Or you can pull it through. Oh, I miss being able to throw boxes. Portal 2 you can't throw boxes, so... but yeah, so this was a forced way of making the player actually go through the portal and then come back out the portal once they hit the box. I believe there are some ways to break this map. I don't remember where they would be though. And actually this map was designed at a point up here. The focal point was somewhere up here, and when you look down at the map from up there, it really has quite a has a really nice layout. Unfortunately, you don't get to see it when you're on the floor. Oh dear. We were new to this. These were the earliest maps we made. We actually made this game in chronological order. So the very first chamber was the very first map we made. Yeah, the very first chamber was the very first map we made. And we made it sequentially. Yeah, see, like, this is an example of where we failed to see the importance of having the correct image indicators for each of the maps. What we did instead, because we couldn't figure out this setup, what we did instead was
These
we had...
strange things on the walls aren't 3D art. As you can see, they are producing sparkling golden orbs of energy. When placed in the correct receiver, they will activate something in the chambers like this one. Drag it across the gap.
Yeah, so instead we put the map indicators on the floor at the entrances to all the maps. So instead of having them up on here, we had them down on the floor. One second. Yeah, I think that'll be better. Even though now you can't see the crosshair, I think that'll look better for the video, for the rest of the video. Yeah, so we made this map to have as little portable surface as possible to emphasize the way that the energy balls work. We were well aware that the people who would be playing this map, you know, originally map pack and eventually mod, we were aware that they would be seasoned Portal players, but we wanted to really reiterate that idea that I mentioned before, that this was a reimagining of the whole original Portal. It was our idea of what Portal could be, you know, as an alternate version of the original Portal.
The lower part of this chamber is filled with a dangerous acid, and the upper part has energy balls bouncing back and forth. Please be careful. The balls ricochet off of surfaces and are extremely dangerous. I couldn't bear to see you die.
Yeah, we ended up making the acid really, well, like, subdued from the original Portal's acid. We didn't like the way that the acid looked when we had it as sort of vibrant colours and dangerous looking. So we ended up going for this really sort of deep brown colour, deep dark brown coloured acid. Unfortunately, it doesn't convey the same sense of danger as the acid in the original Portal. Yeah. But it's, I still love the look of it in the chamber. I just don't, I feel like players might have not realised that, you know, might not have even seen it to start with, might have walked straight into it, not knowing that it was the acid for this game. Now, this is another one, this is a replication of the challenge where you have to put the energy ball through the portal twice. So that happened relatively soon in the original Portal. Also note that we were moving at a much faster rate in terms of what you were learning. Mainly because we realized that the player would likely already know a lot of these features. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and... Oh, without the crosshair it's weird. So that should come through and bounce off of the glass here and go into the receiver. Yeah, so we wanted it to...
I regret to inform you that we're having some technical difficulties at the moment. Don't hesitate to move on to the next chamber.
Hello, me. Yeah, so I wanted to have this glass here to point out the fact that, you know, this was like a safety net, so that the player wouldn't kill themselves. We originally didn't have this, and the chances of the likelihood of people hurting themselves was so much higher. So I just put a nice little piece of glass there. It's not attached to anything, but it's just a little piece of glass there to as a nice reflection point. Yeah. That person you would have heard just then. I'm gonna put crosshair back on. I can't freaking see what I'm doing. Whoops. There we go. So yeah, that person you would have heard just then, that was me. I voiced the bad guy, the equivalent of GLaDOS, essentially, which we named Hades. It stood for Human Android Divided Evaluation System. I can't believe I still remember that. Yeah, he was designed to be a computer like GLaDOS, but he had a human essentially like merged in with them, like kind of like a reverse cyborg, where the human was the augmentation for the computer. Hence the human-android divided evaluation system. Divided evaluation. Some processing power by the computer, some processing power by the human. Yeah, that was our idea. Ah, this here.
Defensive operations turret.
Sorry about that. These turrets are programmed to shoot at test subjects. Please try and avoid their fire.
Yeah, so what happened there, what we were going with was the idea that as soon as you walked out of the elevator, you'd be getting shot at. That was part of what we wanted to achieve with that, was the idea that these things were scary and to be avoided. Unfortunately, because of the noise that they make, it is difficult to hear the voice, Persephone is the female voice here. So yeah, this map was fraught with problems that I think I solved. As far as I recall, I think I solved them with the reboot that I made. But the issues, there were some issues with this map. I mean, what I like about it is that the turret is in the focal point of this particular room. And that was the whole point I was going with. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the turret to not shoot at the glass. We wanted the shooting right at the beginning, but I remember we did try a few times to get the turret to just ignore you while you were in here. But we couldn't get anything that actually was satisfying, and we wanted the gun shooting at you right from the start, so... unfortunately, the voice acting right at the start suffers for that. But, yeah, so we wanted... a little area that you could see the turret, but you're not supposed to deal with the turret. You're just supposed to know that it's there, and that it shoots at you. So we had this little box dropper in the corner here, and the idea was that the player couldn't go to the left, because as soon as you walk in, you can see the turret's there. And right as you walk in, you should be able to hear, hopefully, if you can hear over the turret noise, hear this thing dropping a box. We also wanted it so that with the button room, which is across there, was visible from the box room and vice versa, so that hopefully if you're in either of the safe rooms, essentially, the box room or the button room, you should be able to see relatively easily where you're going to go. It happens to be it's a happy coincidence, if you will, that the button was close enough that you can just drop the box in from this side, but... if the player then tries to go through the door from here, they won't be able to. They have to actually go through the portal and place a portal on them through the door and come through. You can sort of break this the map here by... I'm just going to quickly see something. Did I place a button in here? I didn't. So you can break the game, you can trap yourself in this map by bringing the box with you and then going back through... Okay, one second, I'll just quick save it. So this is how you break this map. Place the box here, go back through, and boom, there, you're stuck. There's no way to get back to the other side. You are now trapped. You get punished by having to reload. Yeah, so that was something... I knew about it as well, but I was like, no, if the player bloody does that, then they deserve to have to load their damn save.
Turrets can be knocked over, forcing them to shut down. You can use a variety of objects to do this. For example... Yeah, this was supposed to be showing that boxes can knock over turrets. Once again, this is actually the main reason why we wanted to stop the turrets from shooting, because... Oh, shooting the glass, that is. Because... we really wanted to have the voice actor saying, you know, this is how you deal with turrets. And I love the visual representation, but if you walk in and you just let them start shooting, you can't hear a word that they're saying. Once again, this was fixed in the reboot that I made. So once you get to this point, the orange portal relocates here. I believe that's another... that once you get to this point, once the portal relocates itself here, you can no longer be trapped.
I think I originally thought this fixed the problem, but I see from before that it doesn't. You can still trap yourself in that little inside bit here. Yeah, if you do that box trick in here, you can trap yourself. You can re-trap yourself by putting both boxes in the previous room. Yeah. Oh dear, we were new. So yeah, we wanted a button here that the box would be used on, and we wanted players to notice the laser. If they didn't notice the laser, they would walk out to go put the box on the button and get shot at. Basically, that was the plan. That was the aim of this particular room. And we wanted the player to have to sort of essentially sneak past the turret by going through here.
There you are.
Either that, or they could go up here. Wait 1 second.
Are you still there?
Go up here and deal with it. They had the option of dealing with this particular turret.
Target lost.
1 second.
Please put me down.
That was always satisfying, being able to throw turrets over. But yeah, you'll notice we also coloured the crosshair blue. At the moment the portal part of the crosshair is blue because it we only have the blue portals at the moment. But the crosshair, the actual dots in the middle, the crosshair part, they're normally white, but for whatever reason we decided that because of we were making everything blue, like these cushions in here and the floor pattern, we decided to make that blue as well, the crosshair.
I've been told that I cannot help you in this chamber, and that you must work it out yourself. Good luck, and be careful.
Yeah, so a lot of these original designs we have here, they were the originals from Portal. But actually, we made a whole bunch of our own ones that you'll see up ahead, for all of the features that we added to the game. So yeah, this is one of my favorite rooms, just because of the layout. It's lots of squares, sure, but there's lots of sort of protruding squares, if you will. There's lots of variation in the layout of the room, and I was very satisfied with how this looked. Anyway, yeah. The idea was, I think this was an extension of the idea of having fall damage. We wanted the player to be able to fall down and hurt themselves and get the box, or if they were thinking with portals, they could realize that they could just shoot a portal underneath the box and bring it to them. Yeah, so we also had this idea of like wanting to have a back and forth, having to go to the right side, you have the left side of the room to get the box, which will appear on the right side of the room. You pick it up, put it in the middle, go back to the right side of the room, and then have to go back to the left side of the room, and then back to the right side of the room. We wanted a back and forth for this particular area. Now we had difficulties because we wanted to use an orange portal in this map in a way that was like you had an orange portal already, but you're going to get the orange portal at the end of this map, so we had to find clever ways of switching the portals over. Oh god. But because of things like the energy orbs, I'm not sure why I made this puzzle
Please
so
deposit the
simple.
portal gun and the Aperture Science equipment recovery index within the next room.
I think I originally intended this to be a reflection puzzle, using a box or some sort of object to reflect the orb off of, but because of restrictions I had at the time, and certain challenges we were facing, I decided to just go for a very basic puzzle. And it was just mainly the idea of having the moving orange portal was the big thing with this one. So, yeah, it was more important to me, at least, that we had the portal disappear and reappear a couple times. Yeah. This map was made considerably larger and more intricate in the recreation. So yeah, this was something I really wanted to do, and was easily missed by players if they weren't paying attention. Firstly, in the original Portal, you just sort of acquire the second portal gun, and the first portal gun just disappears, or it's not addressed where the original portal gun goes, the one that just shoots a blue portal. So I wanted in this one, in our mod, to make the player pass over the original gun back to them so that they could replace it in the original map that you went to, with the idea that, you know, another test subject would come through and they would collect the blue portal gun in the same fashion that you did. So we made this little setup. This took a long time to do. We were so new to all of this that this was such a challenge, but I'm so glad at what the results were. The quality, unfortunately, wasn't able to be increased, but well, you'll see what happens here. So you walk up to this, and the old portal gun is placed on this collector, and is taken away by the machine, and then a new one is on this little arm, which lands on the pedestal that you collected the original gun from, and then it raises back up. And so the test chamber was ready for the next test subject. Something we realized when you walked out of here. I really wanted the portal gun to display like that, so you could see it coming down from the ceiling and being placed for your collection. But because of the way you came out of this room, it was incredibly easy to walk down here and get trapped. This is a trap that we didn't want to punish players for, because it was kind of a stink place to get trapped. So we just placed a little grid over here so that you could no longer go down that space.
Congratulations! What you've just received is the fully functional portal gun. This version can fire both the blue and the orange portal. Use this.
Yeah. So the portal no longer relocates automatically at this point. The idea was that you could... I think I originally intended to make both portals disappear so that you had to do something with it. But because this was kind of the end of the puzzle, the reward was the collection of the portal gun, the new one. You can just solve the puzzle by just going through like that. We intentionally made this space here, the walls, that is, unportal placeable, purely so that people would have to place a portal on a surface that was not the same as the one that they were going through. Because so far, pretty much every portal I can think of, or every place where you can place a portal, you've been able to place it on a wall and just simply walk into it and come out of it in the same orientation. So we wanted the player to have to go through one from the wall and onto the ceiling, or do a jump from here if they didn't realize they could place one on the roof, so that the character would learn, or the player would learn, that the character reorients themselves. Don't know why we tried so hard with that, because most of the people playing this were seasoned Portal players, but it seemed important to us at the time, so... We never did figure out the elevator noises.
In this test, you must build up momentum to make your way across and up the test chamber.
Yeah, so, that was me again. And, this was... We had this idea when we came to this map, or we had this idea around this part of the game, that we wanted a test chamber where Hades, the bad guy, plays smooth jazz while you're solving the puzzle. And so we just thought this was a neat one because it was the fling chamber. This is the one where you learn how to fling yourself through portals. Now, people play Portal very differently from me. The way to solve this, like, straight away is to jump into your portals. Oh god. Oh god, I'm bad now. There we go. Well, that was bad. But yeah, we found that most people don't jump when they're running off of a surface to enter portals, which is problematic because this map is a little bit temperamental. If you jumped into the portals, it played really nicely. Like, it just... I mean, that was a bad example of me just then. But the thing with this map was that it was the quintessential fling map. There was no sort of forced fling in the original Portal, so all the physics had to be accurate in order to get the puzzles to work properly, and so we did a lot of tweaking in this map to get the portals, to get the jumps to work correctly. So one of the things we wanted here was that you're able to, if I'm not mistaken, you're able to get up here via 2 different methods, one of which was placing a portal there, placing one here, and then, as I said before, jumping into the portal. And I think crouching helps. You don't have to crouch if you jump, but if you don't jump, you have to crouch to get up here via that method to get the box. And of course, we placed a surface here so that once you had the box and you jump back down, you could return. But we were kind of banking on people not seeing the portable surface up there, and so we made another method for returning just to mix things up a bit. So what we did is we made it so that the now how does this work again? Gotta remind myself. Okay, so you place a blue portal up there. It's one of these classic ones where you just gain a lot of momentum. You place a blue portal up there, orange portal down here, and then you place a blue portal below you, and then you smack into the ceiling as you fly up. And actually, this is something that's interesting. I had this idea that by this point in the game, the offices that you see around the maps would no longer have their lights active, as if, you know, at first they have their lights active as so you think someone's watching you through them, but by this point the lights are off, and so you do start to question, or I hoped that the players might start to question the computer, you know, the facility that they're in, because essentially they're testing but no one's watching. Only Hades, or Persephone. And of course, the names were intentional. Persephone is of course the queen, or the Hades' wife, and was forced to live with Hades in the underworld.
The device in this chamber is the MID-12, most commonly known as the Propulsion plate. This device propels you into the air and over obstacles found in test chambers. The plates are best used by simply walking straight onto them.
Tutorial.
Storage cubes react best by being thrown onto them. Good luck. I wouldn't want you falling in the acid and dying this early.
So, a few things to talk about. Firstly, this is the first map that I've noticed, at least. The new map. What are they even called? The icons that are at the start of the maps. So this was our version of the aerial faith plate, which we had seen in Portal 2 trailers by this point. We referred to it as I referred to it as the MID-12, being the motion initiative device. So yeah, the idea of our aperture science was that they had lots of mobility and they had a lot of experimentation on getting people places. And so the aerial faith plate was the idea of, you know, catapulting the person to a new location. Of course, this is absurd, as with the aerial faith plate in Portal 2. But yeah, so we had to make some new icons for the stages, what was in the stages. So we had a couple of different ideas. These were all made by my good friend Daniel. He was a genius with these. He took the characters from the original icons and made his own little setups, and so he had the little like acid pool at the bottom, this one, with the aerial faith plate launching you over the acid. And then we had another one here, which was the one we felt we needed to have this because of the sort of complexity of the aerial faith plate that's up ahead, where you had to launch, the aerial faith plate had to launch you through a portal and you come flying out of the other side. Yeah, let's get into this. So, straight away, this is supposed to fall as soon as you enter. I stopped at the start to do some commentary. But yes, we had it up high so that hopefully you'd notice it falling to the right side, and yeah. But no, the reason that we had the tutorial for these aerial faith plates, is the MID-12, was because These things we made in Hammer, in the map editor, and they were freaking temperamental. So the best way to use them was to throw the box onto it, and then just walk onto it. If you did other stuff, if you tried to jump onto it, or if you tried to carry the... Heaven forbid, you tried to carry the box onto the button, onto the plate, you would have all sorts of problems. Now, this was definitely a tricky one to do, because the intention was that you would place your portal here and throw the box into it. But because there's no space in here, for whatever reason we decided to have this as a completely square space, and we didn't allow any more room at the back. It was super hard to get the... Yeah. For the sake of not having to repeat this map a couple times, the best way to solve it is to have the portal here. Yep, there we go. As far as I remember, this was the best method. Have the box up high and push it. God. I don't remember how I did this last. How. Or if can you actually do it this way? I think you might be able to do it this way. And then you just throw it like that. And it flies up and lands perfectly. There we go. So you don't have to go from the back. Oh, I can't believe I forgot that. So you just walk onto it, and if you keep walking forward, you land perfectly. You're supposed to be able to do it from over this other side. You're supposed to be able to do it from the other side of the acid, but we found that it was... People had real difficulty doing that. So we made the map asymmetrical. I wanted it to be really symmetrical, this one. But we made it asymmetrical and made a little platform there for you to have a shorter space to go, basically. And we wanted lots of dark surfaces in this map to make you... even though it's a large space, it kind of still makes you feel claustrophobic, or like the walls are closing in on you a bit. But yeah, that was the idea. That's what went through our heads when we were playing that map. And the and planning the faith plate, the MID-12 as I called it.
What you see before you is a marvel in modern science. The MID-37, aka the Propulsion tube, is a device that, when entered,
doesn't really look
aids
like a
and
tube.
moves objects in a specific direction. You can use these tubes to gain height or move across dangerous gaps and obstacles. I had a direct part in the creation of it.
That's enough, Persephone.
That's right, I had this idea that the Hades was like getting annoyed by Persephone. By the way, this was the reason the maps were so clean, the reason we wanted them to be really clean, was the idea that this was the very first test subject that Hades and Persephone were sending through the test chambers after the event in which the facility was sort of taken over. By the way, Hades was supposed to be, in this world, Hades was invented instead of GLaDOS. So GLaDOS wasn't ever made in this world, and Hades was the one who was made, and he was the one who decided to take over the facility. It's the same story as original Portal, except that it was Hades instead. And so with the Hades having a human attached to it made it for an interesting dynamic, if you will. So yeah, here's some new... well, here's one new map icon thing, test chamber icon. We just used the same one, but in two, rotated. One of them is a normal one, the other one's rotated. And this was our interpretation of the funnel from Portal 2. So once again, this was basically our interpretation of the funnel from Portal 2. Now, it didn't really work the same way as the ones in Portal 2 did, because we didn't really understand how Portal 2's ones worked, and it was very difficult to get anything to work the same way as it did in Portal 2. So we had this weird as hell rotation device thing that was emitting these particles, and this was the MID-23 or something. I seem to recall this having another motion initiative device title, and the idea was that anything that went into the space just got pushed in that direction and held, so carried to some degree. So when you put something in a horizontal one, it will float and will actually move very slightly upwards. but it will be moved along the plane that the particles are emitting into. So you can place a box in it and it will float across. If you go into it, you'll float across. Oh, that's interesting that I have the light on in that particular room. That might counteract what I was saying before. Originally we had planned for this map to have yeah, this is the first map, one of the first maps since the start that you can solve completely without portals. Originally we were planning on having to go back and forth here, but for whatever reason we just couldn't figure out how to make that work. I did make it work in the recreation. I can't believe I wasn't unable to think of it at the time. But yeah, so that map is was altered relatively heavily in the recreation to make it a little bit more of an actual puzzle and not just a walking simulator. This is coming across really negative, isn't it? I love this dearly, but it's always interesting to look at what things we could have done differently, and things that I have in the recreation done differently.
The following device is the MID-23.
Oh, this is the
Propulsion
MID-23.
belt. Once they are on aperture, these devices may be used to develop large amounts of momentum in a relatively small amount of space. It can propel you across gaps like the one in this room, or push you at high speeds through portals.
Yeah, so this is the next new initiative. So this one's the MID-23. It's essentially, it was our interpretation. It was actually suggested to us by another one of our friends who wasn't working on the mod with us. He came up with the idea of this could be a neat mechanic for the game. It has a very similar function to the aerial faithplate, but slightly more usable with portals, just purely because of the way it functions. And the outcome is similar to that of the propulsion gel from Portal 2. We hadn't seen the propulsion gel by this point, but we came up with this idea, and then we found out about the propulsion gel at a later date. Yeah. So basically, this is just it's a conveyor belt. It's just a really, really fast-moving conveyor belt, and it is actually moving if you look closely, but it's just hard to see. Yeah, there is a texture on there that's scrolling really fast. Once again, Daniel is a texture artist, but because of the way that the room lighting is and the way that the textures look next to each other, you basically can't see it, unfortunately. But yeah. Ooh, yeah, so it's basically just a really fast conveyor belt that's supposed to push you across the map. Once again, we went with it because of the absurdity of the fact that you land on a conveyor belt and it flings you across the room. This area here used to have platforms raising and lowering, including this one here. But firstly, the look of it, and secondly, the timing, all of the details that went with these raised and lowered platforms was just kind of ugly, kind of sucked. It just annoyed people when they tried to run across this. Oh god. Wow. Just wow. I died in my own game. But yeah, so we decided that
The following device is the MID-23, the propulsion belt. Once they are on aperture, these devices may be used to develop large amounts of momentum in a relatively small amount of space. It can propel you across gaps like the one in this room, or push you at high speeds through portals.
Alright, so basically we removed the raising and lowering platforms because it sucked, and playtesters hated it. We put a button here for the box, because originally we had the box just appear, just spawning as soon as you came up here and looked across. As soon as you looked across, it would spawn and it would land on this conveyor belt. The problem was that the conveyor belt, half the time, you can't do it unless unless the cube breaks. the conveyor belt half the time would launch the cube at the wall, and the cube would bounce back and fall into the acid. Because of that, we needed a way to allow the player to respawn the cube, of course. It wasn't a problem with the player, because the player doesn't bounce the same way a cube does. But yeah, as far as I recall, you can either drop the cube on here. Wait, I'll just quick save it. If you drop the cube on, it flings across perfectly fine. I have a feeling that if you do it like this... Yeah. Once again, problems with physics relating to our devices. In this version, you have to actually drop the cube on the conveyor belt and allow it to fling across, and then go across yourself. Basically, you face plant into the cube as soon as you start trying to move. Once again, an issue that was fixed because of the way we implemented the conveyor belt in the reboot. Basically, we removed it, replaced it with the propulsion gel. Just so much better. Ah, yes. This map. Now, this was a brainchild of mine. I had this really neat idea that there would be a hub space, basically. This would be where all the different test chambers that they have in the facility would all come together in different elevators, and would lead to this central space. I'll just play it and you'll see what I mean. Basically, we wanted to have a point in the game where you reached your highest, highest point. This took a while to do. We wanted to have the player reach a point in this hub where they could see the sky and play this particular song. One of the first songs we acquired. It was just such a beautiful moment of longing. We wanted the player to have that sense of longing. They've been down here in this test chamber, that this is freedom, basically. But all of these tubes that they have to enter to continue all go way back down. Similar, actually, in nature to the fall part of Portal 2, when they fall down to the old chambers. Except that ours was sort of like ours was more of a tease and a... Well, actually, no, the Portal 2 one was quite a tease as well. But also, the intention for having the 3 tubes here, instead of just 1 tube, was that we were originally planning on having challenge chambers and advanced test chambers. So I think basically we had the idea of having an easy, medium, and hard mode for the game. So basically at this point, depending on which tube you went down would depend on what difficulty setting it would choose, and it would depend on what maps you actually play. So much like some other puzzle games, like recently I played a game called Magnetic Cage Closed. And in that, depending on your choices, I think there were choice puzzles that came up. Depending on what you chose, would depend on what maps you played later on. And so some of the maps would be the same, but others would be quite different. And sometimes it would just be different order in that game. But yeah, the idea was that we were going to have challenge modes or challenge versions of the chambers, which would be like your medium or hard. And then we're going to have a whole new set of chambers. So the idea was that we would be able to add a whole lot of new test chambers to the game. Now, this whole raining thing going on here, coming through the glass, or coming through the crack in the glass, that was designed... Like, we really wanted to have rain. I think the original idea was that I was listening to some music that we had put aside for this game, and I went out. I just went for a walk, basically, to go listen to some of it and think about where it would go in the game and stuff like that. And it happened to start spitting while I was walking, and I was wandering around outside, and I listened to a piece that was very similar to this piece, or the piece I played before. And I was just staring up at the sky with the rain on my face, and I just thought that's so, like, the sereneness, the beauty of that was just, I had to put it in the game, basically. I had to try and figure out a way to have the player look up and essentially virtually have rain fall on their face while some beautiful music played. Just increased the emotional response to the idea of freedom so close. But anyway, if you walk forward, because of the fact that we never implemented a medium or hard, the platform's just lower down, and those tubes don't lead to anything. Yeah, this will actually come up later. This cracked glass. Another thing that we wanted was the idea that, yeah, there's this car here that had fallen through the glass. Basically, we wanted to have that idea that there was something going on up above. Like, why is this glass cracked? Why is there a destroyed car, in this chamber, inside the facility? We didn't want to have moss or any sort of overgrowth, because this was, as I said before, you were the first test subject to come through these chambers. And so, you know, something had happened outside, and you needed to know what, and you were going to figure out why, or what was going on. But we kind of never implemented the why, because that was supposed to be a sequel that we were making for this game, which we, unfortunately, never finished. So yeah, you fall down. You fall way down.
Tell me, do you like cake? Well, as part of the incentive initiative in these testing chambers, we have added cake somewhere within the chambers that are marked with a cake symbol. Try to find all 8 pieces if you can.
This is a chamber that I liked. I liked aspects of. I liked the combination of all the different test puzzles. But I felt it lacked an artistic design, basically. I think the original aim for this map was to have, there's the 2 cubes that we made spawn, which is problematic later on, and you'll see why. You might, well, no, you won't see why. If you play it, which I'll include a link in the description to this mod, by the way. The 2 cubes can be problematic, mainly because of the way that cubes spawn. Yeah. Anyway, I felt when I went to do the remake, I liked this map for everything that it had, but when I went to make the remake, I heavily redesigned this map because I wanted it to have a little bit more sort of like a artistic flair to it, because it's very much a very practical test chamber. Which, by the way, I'll bring up Cake now. So, as she says when you first arrive, to try and sort of offset the sadness of not quite being able to get out, we wanted the Persephone. We wanted the good guide, I guess, to offer you cake as a nicety, basically, to make you feel better about her, to feel better about your situation, basically. She was the best of a bad situation. She was supposed to be the good guy. She was looking out for you and wanting you to be safe, basically, and healthy. Healthy? Basically, she offers you cake. There are secrets in these maps, and I'll show you the first one. So you see, if you look at this particular panel up here, in the far distance, right above that raised floor, there's a portable surface. And if you go through here, there's there's a transparent panel. Basically, this is your first piece of cake. And then, because we weren't sure that people would know we thought people might walk into it and try and collect it, we thought we'd have a little message that just tells you, just click use, and you'll eat it. So yeah, we were going for a real, like, arcadey, old-style collectathon type thing with the cake. Unfortunately, we never implemented a reward for getting the cake. It was purely for like bragging rights, I guess you would say. if you could find all 8 pieces. Yeah, this is and every map that has one has this little icon here to say that it has cake. Anyway, we'll solve the rest of the puzzle. I'll just quick save, because none of these maps quick save, so if you ever fail in a map, you have to start from the beginning. Oh god, this was so temperamental. It's temperamental enough with the proper catapults in the remake, but yeah, let's just solve this the correct way. I'll just put that really centered. That really centered. Okay, so the best way to do this is to actually not use that space. Just go down here, place the orange portal. Oh god, I placed the wrong one. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. And then you just drop down, because I implemented these in a way that I could just make it so that you just fall down. You don't need to do anything special. Yeah, so we wanted to emphasize the cake space by having the panel stick out. Hopefully people might have noticed that, but I have no idea if anyone ever got any of the cake. I didn't get a whole lot of feedback on like cake locations. I never actually saw if anyone posted a video on YouTube or not of them playing this. I know some German guys played the game and did a commentary on it. Yeah, they played through. When did they do that? It was sort of fairly recently after it had been released. They did a playthrough of the mod. And I mean, I don't speak German, so I don't remember if they even liked it. But yeah, I should go back and have a look at that. See, remind myself what they seem to think of it, and how well they did, if they got all the pieces of cake or not.
These red beans you will see here are safe for all non-organic substances, such as the weighted storage cube and the defensive operations dart. I think you'll find their existence slightly less friendly.
What he means is, if you walk into these beams, you will not survive. Please be very careful.
Yeah, so we wanted to have that impression that she was looking out for you, whereas he didn't care whether you lived or died, sort of thing. There's a clever little alteration of one of the icons. We just took the energy ball hit icon, well, my friend Daniel did, and added a line through the center of it, removed the energy ball itself, and you got a laser cutting a guy in half. So yeah, we wanted death grids, basically a dangerous version of the grids from before. And then because I was cruel, I gave you a little bit of a puzzle with the first couple of death grids. And then I gave you a maze, where you can't tell what's happening. Basically, you gotta figure out what parts link in with each other and what parts don't. Basically, you've just gotta put the cube on the button, and then try not to die when you pop out of this one. Which was always difficult. And we made one trap one, I believe. Yeah, that space there, if you portal into that particular square, you'll fall to the ground and you're trapped. It's just a trap. Yeah, I was cruel, and I don't think this was even a very well designed map, to be perfectly honest. In the recreation, I tried my best to recreate it in a way that was kind of okay. It's debatable whether the recreation was any better, really. I believe this is the propulsion level, yeah. Second piece of cake.
This is a challenge chamber. I am not to tell
That's
you
right.
what you must achieve to exit. Use the skills you have used in previous chambers and make your way over the acid and reach the other side. You will have to think quickly and be very aware of your surroundings. Good luck. Not that saying that would change your situation.
Yeah. So basically, this is the first map that I wanted to have kind of challenging, and like a proper map, as opposed to the previous ones, which have been sort of tutorial style maps that Portal tends to go for. Yeah, by the way, I just went ahead and started doing it. The secret here for the cake was supposed to be that there was this little opening here that you were supposed to question and see that there was something going on here. But we didn't want to just have a portable surface there, so what we did was we had a little room around the back here. So this was supposed to hint you off, or tip you off to the fact that it's here, but the actual entrance was down here. And so you just place a portal on the wall down there, through the invisible wall, and here you go. You got your piece of cake. A piece of cake. Yeah, and what we did is, in case, as part of the putting a hole in the wall up above there, I think originally I had placed this as, once again, just offset from the wall, but the hole in the wall killed two birds with one stone, because it allowed you, it hinted to you that there was something here, something going on here, but it also allowed you to place a portal if you accidentally placed a portal. If you accidentally place both portals in this room over here, you could just go up here and place one up, place one back on the wall out there. So yep, just return. So yeah, now this was a part that was difficult because of the way that we implemented it, the way that these things worked. You can see the scrolling texture a little better in this position. So what you got to do, I believe, what you had to do was you had to place. Yeah, okay, I made it so it forced you to place it up above, and then do your best to center yourself with the portal. Nope. See, that was the problem. Weirdness happened when you went through the portal itself. There we go. There's a shortcut here, but I'll just go the normal way.
The oddly shaped wall here is what we at Aperture Science call portal buttons. They are activated by portals. If the button is blue, blue portals will activate it. If it is orange, orange portals will trigger it. And of course, if it is grey, any portal will do the trick. Shoot the grey one here to open this door.
Yeah, so you can once again break the map by placing a portal on one of the previous surfaces. Rarely, it didn't always work, but rarely if you placed a portal on the farmost, the orange surface that showed up just there, you can the portal sometimes stays there, and then if you try and go through your blue portal or whatever, I think you got trapped in the wall. It was very weird, but no, this was a setup that I wanted to really challenge the player. So basically, as I said, it was a challenge chamber. So yeah, having the glass in this chamber was really important. I wanted the players to be able to see where all of the places that they could place the portals are, and plan out before they fly up into this funnel what they're going to do to solve the puzzle. It was one of the first instances where I wanted the player to have to place all the portals while on the move. So they had to think about where these were in correlation to where they were while they're moving through this funnel, and have to think on their feet to solve the puzzle. But let's move on. So yeah, these are the portal buttons. The buttons, as Persephone said before, the grey portal buttons can be activated by any portal, but then there are specific blue and orange versions. The buttons were a little bit temperamental when we implemented them, which I'll elaborate on in the next map. But here, I wanted the player to have to fling themselves into a funnel to solve the map, and then eventually portal their way to the ending door. And so I had to plan this room to not be the end to not be reachable via the faith plate, MID 12, but also there need to be some way to trigger the propulsion funnel. So yeah, I mean, I'll just solve this. You'll see how this works. So yeah, they go into this propulsion funnel, and then they're supposed to portal their way out to the end. I changed this map quite a bit in the recreation, purely because there are a bunch of things that I didn't quite like about the way that this map felt, this particular room felt. And a funny thing is you can break this map in a not uncommon way. Yeah, I'll just show you what you can do. Because of the way that this funnel pushes you, and angled surfaces, the weirdness with angled surfaces. This is something that can quite easily happen with a player. If they have a portal on an angled surface and they fly through the portal, they get pushed out very weirdly into... They get very weirdly pushed out into the map. What's weird is that they get pushed above the map, and then they fall to their doom in the void that is outside of the map. So this was not... I was a little bit disappointed with how this map turned out, but most of the players who we tested on didn't have this problem. Most of them reached the roof here, and then they just portaled over here and then above themselves. So we never really had the issue. But I really wanted the player to be pushing themselves through the portal with the funnel. So this ultimately got kept in, and the glitch unfortunately was not resolved until the recreation. I had recorded all this before. Unfortunately, my OBS was not working properly, so I'm re-recording it.
If you can, try to complete this challenge. On average, 23%
It's one of my favorite
complete this within
maps.
their third try. 55% of people eventually complete the test, and 22% of people don't.
Once again, this is another map that was designed from that side of the room. I really liked how the map looked from this side of the room. It doesn't convey all that well to the final product. But no, this was one of my favorite maps because it was the first really challenging map, other than the previous section with the portals while you're in the funnel. The thing with this is I wanted the player to not know what was ahead, and so I was trying to encourage them to venture over to the other side of the map, so that hopefully when they ventured out here, they would see these portal buttons and, you know, experiment with them to test to see how they worked. One of the things with the way I designed this area as well is that I wanted the player to arrive on this platform, and from here, there's not a lot of visual stimulus down below, so the eyes are drawn towards the ceiling, drawn up towards the portal buttons, and up towards the funnel, so that hopefully the player knows where they're heading, because they've got to get to that funnel. That's the solution to this part of the puzzle. And when they arrive here, I was really hoping that they would try the portal buttons, that is, and see that, in fact, like an orange portal button will not accept a blue portal, and inversely, blue won't accept an orange. So basically, what I was hoping is that they would try the portal here and realize that this floor lowers before they start trying to solve the puzzle, basically. The only problem is that these portal buttons are temperamental, as you saw there. Even when you take the portal away from the surface, it triggers the portal button. Luckily, this doesn't really impact the solution of the puzzle, but I did have some people, I seem to recall having some people thinking they had to do some sort of fling thing with these two raised surfaces, especially with the fact that this one lowers. People didn't seem to realize, well, some people didn't realize that they could some people didn't realize that they could utilize this height for the puzzle, but a good majority of the playtesters didn't seem to have a problem with it, so I left it as it was. Yeah, I'll just solve the puzzle and show you how this works. So yeah, that was something I was really wanting to do, having a puzzle where you had to place multiple portals in a single flight. So while you were in the air, while you were still in the air, you had to place more than one portal, basically. Because most puzzles in the original Portal, most puzzles in the game so far...
Ahead of you is the next most exciting thing I get to tell you about. It's called the Aperture Science Multidimensional Gravitational Manipulation Field.
Yeah, so up until that point, only sort of one or two portals were ever needed to be placed in a single jump or a single fling. I really wanted to have the player have to think really differently and have to place more than just the 2. Have to place a total of 3 portals in a single leap. Playtesters found that really hard, understandably. But I remember when I was making it and I was testing it, I really liked how that felt. When you figure that out, when you solve that and you manage to finally get to the funnel, such a satisfying solution. So yeah, but one thing to point out here is that there's another piece of cake in this part of the puzzle. This section, there's this cake and what we called a gravitational manipulation field. So yeah, we designed these sort of blue hazard symbols to indicate whenever there was low gravity. We also put these little particle effects at the entrances to where the low gravity sections were. You might have seen there. I didn't. I might just reload and show that again, because the box dropping here is important to hopefully the players understanding how this puzzle works. 1 second. So yeah, here we are again. One of the things that we tried to put a lot of visual cues into the maps to show you when you were receiving a new mechanic. Try to put a lot of visual cues to try and help you understand the way in which the mechanic works. For instance, with this one, when you come through here to the gravitational field, you'll see a cube falling from the ceiling, but it's falling very slowly and bounces really loosely. You know, just a little thing there I wanted to show you for what we were doing to try and help the player understand what was going on here. So yeah, we designed this little particle effect that was based off of the Emancipation Grid particle effect, but just had a very subtle, softer look and made it flow upwards, as if there's some sort of force pushing them off the ground, keeping the gravity really low. So yeah, as soon as you enter, you glide. And one of the things that I was cruel about is that I wanted people to walk off here thinking they would just fall, if they weren't listening, you know, or they didn't know that it was low gravity. And they would essentially fly out into the middle of the map, only to be immediately assailed by turrets. Oh god.
Hello. Searching.
There we go.
Target lost.
Yeah, so
Put me down.
the reason for,
Are you still there?
almost the sole reason for having the turrets here, this was just going to be low gravity. It was just going to be a fun sort of playground. But then we discovered something really cool about the low gravity areas, and that is this.
Uh-oh.
It's the fun of flinging a turret and watching it propel itself around the room. It's so... Oh, when we first discovered that, and like even just doing the normal thing of putting a portal underneath the turret, and just watching it propel itself around the room and freak out, failing to understand what the hell was going on. It's just so entertaining. We didn't really want players to place portals in this area. We wanted them to just experience it. But there's still a lot of fun to be had with placing a portal and seeing things float out and seeing how much you can affect the gravity in the area. Yeah, if you just let it, you will eventually reach your terminal velocity again. I won't do that again. You can fling yourself around in really entertaining ways if you use the portals. And but you can also get yourself killed really easily. Oh, I knocked over the turret over here without even trying. Now, remember, there was a cake symbol that showed up before. You may remember, at the entrance. Yeah, the cake in this one was a particularly insidious one, and one that was easy to miss because you're busy having fun throwing turrets around, and throwing cubes around and experimenting with the low gravity. But all the while, there's a cake hidden in plain sight. And I'll show you. So if you take the 3 turrets that were in the map, take the 3 turrets, one that was down there, one that was down there, and one that was at the far end there, and you bring them to this emancipation grill. What the? There we go. You just throw them over there and emancipate them. See, there's nothing there yet, but... Oh, what's that? Suddenly, out of the blue... Cake! Yeah, so we hit a piece of cake under the floor here, and it'll only ever appear, it'll only shoot up out of the ground if the player brings all of those turrets to the Emancipation Grill. So we were just super insidious with that one. Super sneaky, tricky with that one. We did want them to be a real challenge to find. We wanted them to be super cryptic. The first few we wanted to allow the player to have a little bit of, you know, have a few hints towards how it works, but from here on, basically, the cake gets quite difficult to locate in a lot of places. There is a couple that are still a little bit easy, but yeah, so that was the low gravity area. That was really fun. Later implementations weren't quite as fun as that. That was the most fun that we had with the gravity manipulation fields. But yeah, there were a couple of later iterations of it that were really cool as well. I kind of wish we had used it for the boss sequence. That would have been really cool as well.
This chamber is a continuation of the previous chamber. I've just added a few more, well, let's call them obstacles.
Yeah, so this was a reaction to how much we realized how fun it is to throw turrets around. But I was never fully satisfied. I like how they hit each other and they make those comments. I was never fully satisfied with how this map felt. I wanted a map with 4 buttons. 4 cubes, 4 buttons to have to place. Unfortunately, this kind of felt like...
Activated.
This map felt a little bit like, it felt cheap. It didn't feel like it had the same quality as some of the other maps in the game. And so I was never fully satisfied with the way this felt. But the idea was having lots of cubes, lots of turrets, so that they were, you know, lots of stuff to just throw. Just because throwing the turret and making it float through the air as it shoots and propels itself all over the place was just so much fun that we just had to have another map with some more sort of playground style, just mindless kind of fun. So yeah, you just gather them all up at the end. See, this map was actually completely changed when we made the when I made the remake. I kept the 4-button logic, but I made the map endlessly bigger and made 4 separate puzzles essentially, or 3 major separate puzzles that you had to complete to get the different cubes. Yeah, and I completely altered. I took the turrets out of that part of the map, and I put them into a second part of the map. Yeah, I kept the 4-button puzzle, and I put that into a non-gravity manipulation field area, and then I put the gravity manipulation field in the second part of the map. So I flipped that around and I put just turrets in that section, made it a bit of a turret playground. So I kept aspects of all this map, and I just mixed and matched them so that it wasn't so cluttered. There wasn't so much clutter at the start, and then just this hallway corridor at the end. This felt very strange. This section felt very strange after the area that preceded it. felt like something that should have appeared earlier to properly introduce the turrets, because prior to this point we'd had the turrets in its introduction map, but then we hadn't really, I don't think we'd actually included it in any map until we brought about the gravity manipulation field. Here's the cake, by the way. Yeah, so this one was just hidden right at the end so that hopefully you would have forgotten that there was cake in this map. Yep, and of course we highlighted it by having this one as the odd one out, the only one that's not a big panel. Yeah. But yeah, this map, this little bit here, felt like it should have really come about way earlier in the game. Like, sometime a little bit after, or just after, the introduction of the turrets. But, yeah, their placement here felt very strange. In hindsight, it felt very strange. Ooh, this is the elevator noise. Had I figured out how to do that by this point? Anyway.
I shouldn't have to tell you what to do in this chamber. You've already been told everything you need to know to complete it. By the way, if you exit the testing area in any way other than through the main exit, you will die.
Yeah, so this was a cool little one. I wanted this one to look more like a classic small-scale Portal 1 map. So we had all the little details, all the little features of you know, all the different types of puzzles. We had a portal button, we had a ball shooter, we had a funnel, and we had a little fling bit at the start here, all put into one. And actually there's a little fling bit combined with the button here as well, which was really cool. And of course we had a little secret thing around the back that I'll show you in a minute. So yeah, we wanted this to feel like an efficient use of space. People had so much trouble with this puzzle, by the way. I had to dumb it down in the remake. Because people just don't jump into the portals. If you jump into the portal, you have exactly the right amount of height to get up here. But if you don't, you have to crouch, and people don't crouch in these games. Yeah, so this map has all the little details, all the functions of a classic style Portal 1 map, and that was the look. We wanted to go for a little area that had a lot of stuff in it, basically, instead of the previous, like, as opposed to, or as juxtaposition to the large areas that we had before that had not very much in them. So yeah, basically what he said at the start, where he said if you exit the map in any other way than the main exit, he'll kill you. You can portal outside here, and it's very basic back there. I made a way cooler one in the remake, actually, but it just determines a voice line. It's like my one little attempt at having a branching narrative. It's one teeny little taste of a branching narrative. It has no effect on the final game, by the way. But so I'll just finish the puzzle as per normal for now. So basically, what you should do when you first enter here is you should see that these things aren't on. This is on. There's a space up here, and there's a portal button here. If you press the shoot the portal button, oops, this floor pulls out, and you hear the propulsion tube turn off, and you can see that, I mean, the floor tries to move, but then it's not supposed to. It's supposed to be flat like that, and until you take the portal off the portal button, it won't turn back on until you do that. So the idea is that you go up here. There's a button up here. You place your portal there, and you place your portal there. There we go. So using an angled platform as both a portal button and a launch pad. You press that and it activates your ball shooter. So there. And then the simple aim of this. Surprisingly simple puzzle. People, once again, I was trying to be insidious with this one. people kept thinking that you had to place a portal here, and then try and place a portal somewhere around here to get it to come out and hit the receiver here. I intentionally did that because all you're supposed to do is this. Sometimes things are a little bit easier. Okay, yeah, this happens sometimes. I gotta stop it doing this. Once again, weird glitch. All that you're supposed to do is simply this. People didn't understand or didn't seem to get that these two surfaces were made in parallel, so that they're perfectly parallel. So when you shoot a portal, or when you shoot, yeah, if you come from here, if you come over here and actually look, you can see it's a direct line to the receiver. People took ages to solve that. It baffles me. But no, that's good. The fact that, I mean, it's probably not great, because it did probably make people feel stupid, but, yeah, I thought it was funny, so I was just being a little bit insidious again. Now I'll show you the difference. So, alright, so, if you go ahead and you just exit.
Very good. You listen to your superiors. You would make a good working class citizen. Not that you have that opportunity.
So yeah, basically he commends you for following his instruction and berates you for your position, of course, like GLaDOS would. Now, if we go back and we... That's the propulsion tubes, by the way. They have that noise on startup. Yeah, if you go out of the map, at any point, just go out here.
You disobedient subject. You just couldn't resist, could you? Just because you aren't dead yet doesn't mean you're not going to. They all die in the end. They all die.
So yeah, he just is a super creepy bastard about it all. And when you go to exit, he doesn't say anything. The reason the door closed last time, by the way, was so that to stop you from going and triggering that dialogue option after you've already triggered the ending dialogue. So basically, yeah, he just doesn't give you any reward for completing the test if you go out there. I believe... Well, no, I don't think I hadn't done any voice acting for the reboot part, but the outside of the map in the reboot was really cool. If I manage to get that video done, I will show you that, and it's so much cooler, so much cooler idea than just having the exit like that. So yeah, that was just an idea I had for possibility of different branching narrative. So yeah.
This chamber will test your timing and speed when it comes to placing portals. The portal button in this room takes 0.5 seconds to respond. Use this to your advantage, and you shouldn't have any problems completing the test.
So yeah, this map has cake in it, by the way. Have I missed a piece of cake? Part of me feels like I have, but I don't know. So yeah, this is the first puzzle. This is one of the first of the later, really quite hard puzzles. Another thing to note is because there's only 19 maps or 19 test chambers in the original Portal. This is the last map that we have one of these symbols, one of these portal or the test chamber signs. We hid them away after this point. We just didn't show them anymore. We kept these in because these are still useful, but we kind of just stopped using those. Once again, a problem that I fixed when I made the reboot version, where we were able to have basically as many test chambers as we wanted, as many numbers, many entries as we wanted. So solution here. Well, I'll show you. We wanted to bring back once again the conveyor belt. Once again, we were going with a conveyor belt into a funnel, which was something I quite like the idea of. The narrator mentions that these take 0.5 seconds to respond. That's actually true. They do take a half second. It does take a half second for the portal to kick in once you shoot the portal here. Mainly because the puzzle up ahead was too difficult. It was actually too fast-paced for almost everyone, including myself. I found it difficult. to actually place a portal here, and then place 2 portals along here, or place your entry portal, or it was too difficult to place a portal here on the other side of the map, and then place one right below you or right next to you, following it. It was just too much of it was too short a time frame to do it. So yep, you're supposed to go boom. Yeah, there we go. And then once again, a place where you can trap yourself, because I was like that. Ooh, a lot of stuff happened there. Yeah, so what we were hoping with that was that once again, just like a whole lot of stuff happening. This is one of the pieces of cake that I quite enjoyed the placement of, by the way. Sometimes it works like first try, and other times it takes a while. There we go. This one's probably actually one of the easier ones because it can happen by accident. So you can accidentally have the panels shot out and basically get access to this room. So yeah, this is something that unfortunately was not able to be brought back in the reboot. As I was saying before, that whole section at the end of that first part of the puzzle is designed to be sort of disorienting, basically. We wanted the player to have to think, to not be able to see what's coming up, and to have to think as much on their feet as possible, take the situation they were in and figure out the solution while they were going. And unfortunately it did mean that people got punished if they weren't paying attention. And that was part of the reason why we made the 0.5 second delay on that button, was to reduce the absolute craziness of it. Now this one, I'll just get the cake. So it's actually also a nice little place to have a rest from the turret, because that was another thing I wanted with this, was that as soon as you came down here, there was no rest for the wicked, if you will. As soon as you landed, you were getting assaulted by a rocket shooting turret. Yep. And actually, just throw those. Yeah. So we wanted the player to be circling that middle area where they basically can't avoid the turret, and have them trying to work out the solution to the puzzle while under the threat, the constant imminent threat of the turret. Something to note is that the trick with this puzzle is that when you fall through the roof onto the platform below, a panel covers the hole over the roof. It was very difficult to get players to look up at it. One of the things that we actually did was that, since players often found the cake in this room, because the cake was sometimes discovered by accident, the fact that the player has to place the portal below themselves on that platform meant that when they came back to go back to where they were, they can actually see the platform, the cover to where they fell down, and hopefully realize that that's what they're supposed to utilize. They're supposed to use that panel there. I'll just quick save just in case I die, but they can use the panel there to get to the end. So, yep, once again, avoiding the turret. They're supposed to do this. I'll show you what they're supposed to do. Yep. And then across to here, and you just hover along while the turret tries to shoot you, and voila. This one.
It's far too easy for the lonely ground. You'll have no trouble completing the first try.
This one's one that, yeah, it was supposed to be based on Frogger. One of my friends was like, you should make a map where it's basically Frogger, and they have to hop across a space where they're being assaulted with deadly traps. So essentially, yeah, it was originally going to be all open, and you were going to be able to see each stage, and you were going to have to basically hop across it and try to avoid all the things. This part. That's a little shortcut, by the way. That last stage, 2 rocket shooters are shooting at you constantly, and you have to sort of do a little dance back and forth across the platform. But if you're clever, when you're hopping across, you don't have to go forward and backwards. You can just do a little hop. You can just quickly shoot a portal over here, shoot a portal at that far wall there, and yeah, Bob's your... Wow, did I just do that? I missed the cake! No. I'm gonna have to start this level again. Please excuse me. So yeah, as I was saying, now that I'm back here, and I can show you the ending again. So yeah, you're being assailed by 2 rocket shooters, and if you're clever, you can just quickly dart between the, shoot a portal between the walls and get through to here, pardon me. But one of the things that's made it a little bit more difficult, I'll just quick save it, so that I don't make an idiot out of myself again, is that the cake is in there. The cake is in the middle of the Frogger area. So to get the cake from this point is a little bit difficult, but what you got to do, the best way to get it, is to do the sneaky little that trick, where you place you stick your head out and you place a portal through. You can do it the way that it was initially. The way that was initially intended was, I think you might actually be able to just walk through this wall. No, you can't. Bullets can go through it. Or rockets. I think that was the trick. That was the hint. Was that while you're dodging the rockets, there was quite the opportunity to see a rocket fly past you and fly through the wall there. And that was supposed to be the hint to the fact that was there. The way you're normally supposed to do it is that you hop onto this platform here, you do your little dance, you dodge the rockets, if you're quick, you place a portal down the end here and you place it there, so you don't have to wait for one iteration. But if you're just finishing the puzzle, you hop on the platform, you do your little dance, you come across here, you shoot your portal over here, you get to the end, and you do your little dance and get all the way back to the wall there, and then you jump through. So it was the last little piece of difficulty, last little piece of the Frogger puzzle, and was mainly put in because of the fact that prior to that, once again, no portals had been used. It was once again, a map that I wasn't entirely satisfied with, and was very much redesigned when I did the remake. So yeah. It was an idea that was suggested by one of my friends, and I liked it, and I put a lot of effort into it, so I didn't feel like I was willing to get rid of it when I towards the end there. Kept it in for that.
You may want to be quick with this one. As they say, a fast amateur science testing sequence is a good amateur science testing sequence.
A thing with this map was that it was designed with the idea that at this point you're supposed to start questioning the fact that you haven't heard Persephone in quite a while. Notice, by the way, that the music echoes in this room because of the size of the room. That is actually a feature of the game, the engine itself, and not something that we had planned. But I liked I liked how it felt. It felt like the music was actually playing in the room, so I left it. I didn't try to change it. Yeah, so this was another one that we wanted to do that was time-based. Once again, I polished the hell out of it in the reboot, and I thought the reboot really did a good job of this map. But it's still really fun in this version. So basically, you're supposed to, if I'm not mistaken, to actually get the button on that side without killing yourself on the lasers, you're supposed to do this. And then you push your way through it, and you hit your button. There we go. that turns off the laser here. So now it's a raising puzzle where you gotta you gotta figure out what's happening and solve the puzzle before you reach the next death grid. And each puzzle you solve closes up a death grid. And because there was some certain troubles we're having, I did a little trick where I fizzled your portals between each puzzle to, this is a little trick we had where even if you're at the far end of this area, if you just leave it, you get pushed towards the solution. So yeah, we had a few ideas there. That ran through really quick. Yeah, basically I had these grids around here so you couldn't fall out. Originally it was supposed to be just open, but I found that people were able to, land on surfaces they weren't supposed to. So I ended up having to put a big grid around the player. The puzzles that were below, especially the second one, was one that I was quite excited about because it was an example of where you had a propulsion belt, the conveyor, and it was solely used for the box. So it propelled the box into a space that had another tube. So you were in a tube, and then the box is in a separate tube, and you had to figure out where the box is going to land and place your portals so that you could get them on the button before the time ran out, basically. I hope this music isn't copyright. Yeah.
I don't think you're going to like what's in the next room, but I do. I'm looking forward to seeing this.
Yeah. So yeah, this is another one that was heavily modified for the reboot, but I liked the way it felt. Mainly it was redone completely because of what the things that are down here are not in Portal 2. You can see a little bit of it there. The rocket turrets are down below. But also, the secondary part of the puzzle was... I polished it up and I made it feel better. I took away some of the urgency from the puzzle. This puzzle I wanted to have urgency. So you land down and you're immediately assailed by 4 separate turrets. Yeah. And so basically I wanted the player to be on their feet constantly. That turns on the ball shooter. You gotta do your little dance and...
You're more confident than I thought. Since you dealt with that fairly well,
oh,
this next part of the test is much less relentless.
I thought the second part was different. This actually is really cool. I like this part. Once again, it was difficult to implement because of the limitations of the engine. The limitations of using hammer solely for the mod. But this is a little idea I had where I wanted the player to be grounded and have only long-range input into the map. So basically, you couldn't do anything but shoot portals and press buttons. Basically, was the idea, and you were stuck on this one platform here. So yeah, essentially, what you got to do is you got to hit all the different buttons at some point, and to do that, and there's this, because the chance of getting stuck was real here. I made this little button to flick boxes off the surfaces, and destroy any portals you had on the surfaces. So basically what you got to do is you got to place your portal at underneath your box dropper, and that's pretty much it. Like that portal should pretty much stay there the whole time. What you got to do is you got to place your exit portal in all sorts of different places, and get the box to go into all the different cubes and all the different buttons. And each time you solve a puzzle, that part of the puzzle shuts down. So you place one there, another cube falling through, And then that lands on that one. It closes up. And then this one was a little bit of a cheat because I couldn't have 3 funnels in close proximity. I wanted to have funnels pushing them into these things here, but I couldn't. So essentially, what happens here is it presses the button and then it falls down. And the button stays pressed. It doesn't return to its non-pressed state. Ah, and here's a classic issue that sometimes would happen. Essentially, because this is useless now, I placed this surface up here to get rid of it, so you could get rid of the box. So that you could press this button again and get a new one. Last but not least, there we go. And now this turns from a deadly laser grid to a friendly one. And you can mess around if you want. You can try and mess up the map, but no one ever did in the testing, so I didn't bother to do anything about that. Did I miss another piece of cake? I don't know if I've missed any of it. But part of me feels like there was cake. That's gonna annoy me.
This next test is very dangerous. Thankfully, the Aperture Science liability waiver you signed means that no matter what happens to you, it's not Aperture Science's fault. That was a good move on our part. Your move better be even better.
So there's more of my voice acting. Persephone hasn't shown up in a while because it's supposed to imply that Hades has kind of taken over control, and Persephone's there, but she doesn't really have any real control. But yeah, so this is a fun one. This one is once again glitchy because it has all our our faith plate and our propulsion funnel. The remake one that I did, I made vastly more extensive, but yeah, I'll just show you what we have here, and I'll show you where the cake is, of course. So what you're normally supposed to do is shoot a portal here, which opens this up here below you, and you're supposed to use it to launch. You shoot your portal here, and then your portal and portal. So it's, once again, it's like a 3 portal thing. But what you can do is you can go onto the portal button here and place a portal through here. Once again, we made this wall, which I will. Yeah, we made this wall very different. We made it with a small one to try and highlight the fact that there's something through here. The fact that it's surrounded by big tiles, and then it has this just one random little tile section. That was a hint we frequently used. But yeah, you gotta go back here and place the portal over here so that this opens back up. And then we'll go about the puzzle as normal. So you shoot your boom. And then you're propelled straight into a low gravity field area. This was a one that, once again, I hinted at the fact that there's danger. It's these little turrets. I'll just quick save it. And I put some little test chamber icons here because this is essentially a self-contained test chamber of sorts. But I wanted to iterate the fact that this room was dangerous. It doesn't appear that it's dangerous just yet, but these weird shaped patterns on the floor should hopefully indicate to some people, where have I last seen stuff like this? Maybe the maze we saw earlier? Boop. Suddenly you're surrounded by a maze. And something that not everyone was aware of, but you have a limited time frame to do this. Firstly, you've got rockets flying at you. Oh god, that nearly killed me. But people didn't realize that there's actually a time limit here. If you took too long, this wall actually opens up and turrets are behind it. Yeah. So you gotta quickly make your way through there. You can use portals. Not necessary. Yeah, we just wanted a little death trap. Once again, I liked death traps, so this is kind of before I learnt about the ways in which you should treat your players. I came to the realization afterwards that you really should treat your players nicely and not cheat them as much as you can.
This test was not intended to be used at this
This one.
testing.
See,
This was used as the primary
no
test
test chamber.
for all the devices being
It's
developed
numbers.
in Aperture Science. Due to this, I'm obliged to make
Okay.
the chamber more challenging. So once you enter the starting room, an undetectable poisonous gas will slowly fill the entire chamber. You will have approximately 2 minutes before the gas
Excuse for a timer.
will function. Good luck.
Basically, this puzzle is just one that has the dark walls here, dark glass. I gotta do this quickly because otherwise I will die. It's got dark rooms, as if to imply that there used to be lots of activity here, but no longer. And I've made heaps of different rooms to go with this map. This map was supposed to be like showing how the basic mechanics, the early first area mechanics, could be used in a way that is challenging. You know, it's a challenge, even though each particular little puzzle is only a few seconds long. This is the trick. This is the trick one. It looks like exactly the same as the first one. Secretly, cake through there. No particular hint, just the fact that it's the repeat of the previous one. Yeah, I just made it look exactly the same as the first one, hoping that people would be like, why the hell is this showing up? Why is there a second version, a second copy of that one? And this is fun. I use the turret that doesn't shoot anything as just like a prop. And there's lots of random garbage that comes out of this thing you can just throw around. It's kind of intended to be, once again, a playhouse type thing, but the fact that you're timed means that you don't really have time to play with them. I mean, there's actually a lot of time. Like, I'm doing it quite quickly. And this is the first example, actually, of where you need both portals placed in order to solve it. As soon as you get through here, you can no longer be killed, basically. That's the... Once you got through that last bit, you're finished the puzzle. So yeah, that was a mad dash. Basically, yeah, that chamber was a big vertical column of every other test chamber, pretty much, or of every other test mechanic that has come up. It was a refresher, if you will, of every last mechanic that was in the game, essentially, or every last non-portal flinging, kind of non-momentum based puzzle. Non-portal momentum based puzzle.
He's going to kill you. You have to listen to me. You don't have much time.
Did you hear anything? I didn't hear anything. You have reached the final test.
Took me
I cannot
ages
believe
to
someone
say
of your
that.
caliber actually made it this far. Nonetheless, you have. So I'll tell you about the test. The test consists of 2 parts: a safe test section and a non-safe test section. Good luck.
Yeah, I thought I was being clever. It took me ages to get the... Did you hear anything? I didn't hear anything. Line to sound okay. I repeated it about like 12 times. Poor Daniel had to go through all my recordings. Yeah, so this chamber has a little sneaky shortcut, actually. Yeah, essentially, I like the shape of this one. It's going back once again to the vast open chambers, and what you're supposed to do. What I'll do is I'll just quick save it. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to explore, basically. You see, you got your conveyor belt here, and conveyor belts are always active, so that's an option to get to the other side. But you go over. The idea is you're supposed to go over here, watch that box fall down, and understand that you need that for the button right at the start. So I made lots of like open spaces that connect the 2 parts of the puzzle. And actually, what he was referring to when he said a safe test section and a non-safe test section, so that was a really difficult one to say as well, was actually not this part. It was a trick, because this part has 2 sections. But that's not what he's referring to. He's actually referring to a part that's coming up. And this is the little trick. If you place... wait, is this the trick? No, it's... you place it over here. believe this is how the trick works. Yeah, let's just see. Oh, no, it's not. I remember now. Okay, I'm gonna put that up here. Actually, it might be, because I believe the button activates the, No, that's right, I remember what it activates. Frick. Okay, so this activates the door over there. That's right. Maybe the trick is at this part. Nope, okay, I screwed up the trick. There's a real short way of doing this map, if you place your portals just right. I didn't place them just right, so I'm gonna have to omit that trick. So basically, you hit this one, and then this energy ball goes across. So I placed all of the puzzle pieces in a way that hopefully, from the point where you're either pressing the button or pushing the button down with the box, you should hopefully be able to see what it activates. See, at this point I hadn't figured out the way you put lines to things to indicate what activates what. And so I had to try my best to do things like this, where you have the button here. When you press it, it activates something that's already on your screen. So, yeah, this button activates the ball shooter, and, yeah, I think one part of the trick is one part of a trick you can do is to say, you place your orange portal there, and then you can just, what you do is you leave it there, you place your blue portal here, and then you can just come straight back. Voila! I think that's the one place I put an autosave, by the way, because I think it just autosaved. I'll quick save it anyway, because this is the part that he was saying is a non-safe test section. This was a... probably a bad idea, but it seemed to excite people when they played it, so I kept it. You essentially got to use the info balls to kill all the turrets. Oh, that's loud. And then what you're supposed to do is from one side utilize the fact that you can see where the turrets shoot from. You can see their lasers. I don't know if that's worked. Yeah, let's try this one. So yeah, you just see their laser, you shoot a portal at it. Shoot a portal there. There's some amount of guesswork in terms of... Oh, this one. There's a certain amount of guesswork involved in where you think you'll find them. So this one's still active. And it's always a good idea to reset your... Let's just listen. There we go. So I think that's all of the... Yeah, that's all the turrets. So basically, once you get all the turrets, you've got to use the balls to get all the turrets. Down, quick save it, because I'm probably going to get killed by one of these balls. And then you've got to just leap your way across these boxes. Which, by the way, is really hard if you don't know how to crouch.
On the center plane in the middle of this room and remain standing there until further.
I hadn't really figured out how to mute or how to quiet down. This is what I was talking about before with the volume control. Didn't know how to reduce the music so that the voice acting could be heard over the top of it. Actually, kind of somewhat resolved in Portal 2 to a degree. But the reboot I hadn't done any voice acting for, so I hadn't gone through and revoiced anything or checked anything like that. I'll just wait for the music to stop. Wait, actually, I'll just check if it continues when you load. I have a feeling when you load saves. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, basically you've got to this point, you've solved that puzzle, and you're like, phew, but you come to this room where you've got the darkened end of the test.
This concludes your testing sequence. Aperture Science retains the
And
right
the floor
to use testing material, no matter what
begins to
happens
fall.
the test subject. All Aperture Science equipment remains safely operational.
I like the
up
way
to
it worked in
4,000
the
degrees
reboot.
Kelvin, and in a page range between 0
Yeah,
and
with
14.
this, the
Aperture
idea
Science
was
retains the right to be excused for anything that happens to its test subject.
my version of
We had a fun test,
GLaDOS's
and I'm
final
impressed that you made it the whole
speech.
way through. But as with all test subjects, you all die in the end.
No!
Oh dear. Oof. I feel like I nearly got pushed over just then. So yeah, that happened all very quickly. What you were seeing there, firstly, was the the floor started falling out underneath you. In the reboot, I made it a bit nicer looking. That one was it's a little bit hard to see in this version. But I mean, you can hear them hitting the water below, and so you know that there's acid at the bottom of this pit. And you can fall into it and die, if you're not careful. If you don't do what he actually said. If you follow his instruction and stand in the middle, you will survive. But if you don't, you will die. It's funny, he's one of the few places where his instruction actually causes you to be able to survive. And of course Persephone overrides him. And projects a barrier across the floor here. I altered this in the reboot once again, and I really like the way I did it in that one. But nonetheless, yeah, the barrier here comes across and protects you from falling into the acid below. And while you're standing here, just a few seconds after you're standing here, this wall blows out. So suddenly this wall blows out and you can see into the background, into the back areas behind the test chambers. Now, the speech that I said up the top there was my version of the GLaDOS speech that she gives when she's lowering you into the fire. And that was a big part of why I wanted to voice Hades, because I love that line in Portal. So I made my own version, and I included, like, there was the temperature, there's a 4,000 degrees Kelvin thing. I added the pH range thing, and I, you know, the safety of the device, basically. Yeah, and so at the end, he reiterates what he said if you did the bad thing in that previous map, and says they all die at the end. Yeah, but he's kind of like our attempt at foreshadowing. We were young. But yeah, so you reach here and you hop across, and you're in this weird ass section at the back here. I believe Daniel actually made this map. He made this room here, and I just modified what he had done. I tweaked it and sort of polished it up a little bit. This was made. This is the point where this version of the game and the reboot vastly separate in style. The reboot area that after this point, after the save point, is so fundamentally different, to the point that I actually only made one map after that, and I couldn't think of how to continue it, and is why I haven't to this day released the reboot. But I'll definitely try and record that very soon to show you what I had done, the development that I had made on that, to improve on what we've done here. So anyway, let's continue. So this is our interpretation of the backgrounds of Aperture Science.
You don't have much time. I've temporarily powered down Hades' external processes. It's only so long before they power back up again. They trapped me here, harnessed to this thing. You must come and release me. I don't think you'd forgive me if you don't. You don't know what he's like when he's angry.
Something weird that happened when we, via the load system, there's actually 2 doors here, and one of the handles goes down. I just love that. I don't know why. I love it so much that I left it in. So yeah, this is our first attempt at some outdoor areas. I actually really like this particular room, partly because of our particle effect that we created that has the acid. We didn't make any sound effects for it for some reason, but the acid is supposed to be pouring out from those vents and flowing down underneath here. Yeah, and of course you, like with Portal 1, you can portal your way across if you want, but you don't have to, because these, in my mind, the idea was that these areas are areas staff without a portal gun would be would be wandering around. So it doesn't make too much sense if it's impossible to navigate, unless they're not supposed to navigate them. So yeah, we had this little elevator here, and then we reached like an office space.
I have used my authority to unlock all the doors in the shortest route to me. Some doors cannot be controlled from here though, so some rooms that aren't important may be open. Try to ignore these and get to me as quickly as you can.
So yeah, basically, she's begging for you to come save her, basically. And actually, this is funny, by the way. Normally that kills you, that's funny. Do you hear that? Yeah, as she said, some of the rooms in the back here are contain stuff that's just, like, irrelevant. But that was intentional. Yeah, basically everything's locked except that other room and the companion cube. Our version of the companion cube. And another radio with the jazzy piece playing from the start. It's basically our version of the fact that in Portal 1 you could always find the jazzy Still Alive song radio around. I believe, I have a feeling you can take this cube with you to some degree to the end. So this is the idea of this is the janitorial sort of passageway between this elevator and the staff rooms, the like science offices staff rooms. A lot of the doors are locked because we wanted to limit how much we had to do. So yeah, basically this is a room that we had a lot of, it was once again another playground room, where you can just go straight through, you can just ignore all of the cubicles and go straight to the elevator at the end here, and head upstairs. Once again, another locked door. But yeah, we wanted this to be a little staff room that's just full of stuff. So lots of desks, lots of stuff you can like pick up, lots of physics objects that you can mess around with. To the point that I think over the other side, if we go over the other side, yeah, there are shelves. There are shelves covered in books. And there's little like notepads and stuff for the scientists supposedly working on different things. But yeah, something clever that I figured out was that you could push all the books over. And of course, because you've got portals, where's the other portal? I think the orange portal's downstairs. But yeah, so something that I always thought was fun to do was to wreck the place up. This is basically a reprieve from testing, because the player at this point has just done nothing but tests and have been rather challenging puzzles. So we wanted to give them a space where they could just mess around with for a little while. Didn't have to think about the game for a little while. Also because, of course, there's an impending boss battle. So it's just something fun to man, this is so loud. Just something to mess around with. And make the game lag by having all this collision. All this physics collision. It's even worse if you place your portal here, like here, and then do what I did before and come on. If you gather all the books together, it really makes the game lag, because it can't handle all the physics collisions. Oh, it's starting to lag. I don't know why I'm trying to make it lag. But I am weird like that. Alright, that'll do. I think that's laggy enough. Oh god. Okay, let's stop that. Let's stop that now. Oh god, have I ruined it? I think I've ruined it. Okay, yeah, I made it stop. Okay, let's go before it really royally screws up. So yeah, if you hold on to your companion cube, you can go up the elevator and Yeah, this was supposed to be a nice formal-looking elevator, like a fancy hotel elevator, but it's alright. Basically, you're leading up to...
It's too late. Please, don't hurt me. Please.
Oh, I won't hurt you. Much.
So yeah, basically, this map is the final map, but you actually come back to it. This is the first time you see it. The idea being that you're in the lobby of the facility, and you can see out to the city outside. This was the part that I was really excited about, the part that I was really wanting to do for a long time. We made the lobby somewhat portal surface placeable, but there was a bunch of things that we wanted to limit the player to some degree to be able to place portals in this room, because we didn't. There's a lot of triggers, a lot of things going on in this room that it's if we didn't limit the player, could potentially really ruin the, screw up the code, if you will, of the game, of the level. So yeah, we wanted to have this little like security desk thing, because this is the way you head to. This is a direct path to Hades. You're not supposed to know that at this point, and something we put in, which actually broke the game to start with, and we had to release a patch for, was if you walked through here. If you walk through here, it's supposed to be like a metal detector, and it puts this death grid here. So every time you walk through it, it just activates. Once the death grid activates, it doesn't deactivate. But when you come back, into the, when you come back to this, when you come back to this map, once you've defeated Hades, originally, this laser grid would still be there on return, and so you were trapped, essentially. You couldn't escape, which was an oversight on our behalf, because we hadn't had anyone actually come across that until after we released the game. So we quickly released a patch, and that was the laser fix patch that we released, and that fixed the problem. That made it no longer a problem. And I'll just leave this cube here, because I believe it'll still be here when I return. But now we've got to basically, that tells you can't go that way, and we have to go this way. And on return, we'll be coming back via that other pathway. No, actually, sorry, that path wasn't a direct path to Hades. It was a direct path to the power core. That's right. This is the direct path to Hades. We made that a secure path because it leads to their like special reactor that they have that powers Hades, powers the whole facility. We made that elevator last ages because we wanted to imply that this was miles down. Yeah. By the way, before we actually start the boss battle, which, by the way, looks a lot like the original game's boss battle, which was intentional, the voice acting. I voiced Hades, and a girl from our school voiced Persephone. And if you look closely, you can see Persephone just in the middle there. She's in this little booth with wires attached to her head and her hips and stuff like that. Yeah, we were, well, I was like, what, 17 at the time? And the person who was voicing Persephone was, what, 16, I think, at the time? And we'd never done any voice acting stuff before. At the time, I thought the voice acting was fine. In hindsight, after releasing it, and a little while later, I came to dislike what we had done with the voice acting. And the fuzziness and stuff that was brought in, the attempts at making it sound corrupted and stuff, just didn't really do what I wanted it to do. And so the plan for the reboot was to completely revoice all the voice lines. But I just didn't have the time. I was at university by that point, and I had a lot of other stuff on my plate by that point, so I never got around to voicing, and that's one of the major reasons, other than the maps at the end, for why I never actually managed to release the reboot. I might release the maps after I record and upload the video, just so that people can try them out for Portal 2. And yeah, anyway, I'll get into the boss battle. We modified GLaDOS's original boss battle room, and actually most of this room was designed by Daniel, my texture artist and musical guru, musical genius, kind of. He was a great musician. Yeah, so I once again was one that Daniel did himself, and then I just came through and tweaked with.
How did you do it? How did you escape mind chambers? You're only just competent enough to complete the puzzles. How did you escape your scheduled death? It was her, wasn't it? That poisonous witch. She's ruined everything I worked so hard to create.
Persephone is unconscious by this point, by the way.
I can't blame her. This is your fault. Your testing is over. Now you die.
So basically, rocket turrets everywhere. We went for a much more aggressive boss battle. And because we were, I don't know, oh god, you're gonna have to listen to that voice acting again. So, we're back again. Yeah, Persephone's supposed to be unconscious by this point. Yeah, we went for an action approach in the final boss battle. Whether that was a good idea or not, I'm not sure, but I know that Valve themselves had said that they had tried that, and that it didn't really achieve what they wanted it to achieve. I feel like we made this boss battle too hard. Mainly because well, it's not so much that we made it too hard, we made it too vague. The key to this boss battle is the little switches around the room. Each switch activates a little platform that comes up. And once you've activated all the switches, you've got to come back here and activate this master switch. And that is supposed to shoot a thing into the glass to break the glass. It's basically like a in case of danger, break glass type situation, where you gotta hit all three of the switches, hit this master switch, and it's supposed to break the glass. Of course, it takes 2 tries to break the glass. But if you know what's happening, if you know what you're doing, the puzzle's fine. Like it's decently challenging, and it's okay. It's fine. But if you don't know what you're doing, if you've never seen it done before, this is an incredibly difficult and confusing puzzle. So anyway, we'll listen to the voice. I'll skip past the voice acting. But one note, actually, before I do that, when you reach the different stages of the battle, you'll actually hear the voice line that you hear is actually randomized. So when you do this boss battle, if you die a couple of times, the voice line that happens halfway through, not the starting voice line, but the voice line that happens halfway through, actually will vary depending on random chance, basically. It's just random chance between about 4 different lines that can happen. Yeah, anyway.
Your testing is over. Now you die.
You're supposed to use your portals, go between these switches, and then a platform comes out like that. And you hit the switches, and you go back to the start. And with the three there, an energy ball shoots out and hits the glass.
You know, we could be friends, you and I. Put all that energy behind us. I should throw that all away now. For what? Freedom? Her life? Neither of those mean anything in comparison to what I've accomplished.
Yeah, so now what's the difficulty here is that you're back to pushing the switches again. You've got to push them a second time, but this time there's a big death grid going up and down the map. So basically, you've got to avoid the death grid. Oh god. I'll just quickly do it now. Damn it! I did it badly. I will return to that last switch. I'll cut out the middle. Another thing I forgot to mention was actually one of the things that was suggested, I always just recommended people do, is before the battle, or during if they wished, was to get rid of the turrets. Because these can be annoying. And if you do them, if you're sneaky and do it beforehand, the boss won't trigger until
You're only just confident enough to complete the puzzles. How did you escape your scheduled death? It was her, wasn't it? That poisonous witch. She's ruined everything I've worked so hard to create. But I can't blame her. This is your fault. You don't realize that your testing is over. You will now you die. How could you be so cold?
Yeah, if you get rid of the turrets... Oh god. If you get rid of the turrets, it's infinitely easier. And then once you've done it for the second time, you do it again, and it breaks the glass.
That's it. If I can't do it, no one can.
And then...
I guess, like all Tensukians, even she dies.
Basically, yeah. Before you can get onto his platform, which you're supposed to portal onto, he kills her.
Stop! You don't know what you're doing.
You hit your manual override on the back here, and that turns off all the rocket turrets and the laser grid. Yeah. It's just a little monitor at the back. Yeah. So what can happen is once you've hit for the last time and you've shattered the glass, you can place portals along the column along here, which wasn't immediately obvious either. Okay, that loops. Alright. I was hoping that the music would stop, but alright. Yeah, basically, before you get a chance to do anything about this, yeah, you can place the portal up here, and you can hop down here, and you can look at her unconscious body, and he says, you know, if I can't have her, no one can, and kills her. Hence the blood splatter on the screen. After that point, because you've hit the manual override, you've turned him off, basically. You've turned Hades' computer system off, basically. And this was a little tricky. We made it so that the idea is that you've got to head back to the elevator to try and escape, try and hopefully get out, now that you've turned him off. But... yeah, you're supposed to go through... oh god, oh god. There we go. Loud. Basically, yeah. You realize that was supposed to be the point where he tries to trick you, you realize he's not actually off. You've just sort of disabled his ability to do things. You disabled his ability to activate things like turrets. And yeah, this is the elevator shaft, and you gotta hop out before it falls, and you die. If you fall with the elevator, you die. You have about 3 or 4 seconds to get out. Yeah, it's just a little trick, and you can just squeeze through the bars and into your portal up down there. You actually can squeeze out right at the start if you're clever, but I made it so there's a second opportunity to place the portal down there, and that was the intended method of escape. And then you go to look at the elevator shaft, and if you look up, some players didn't, and just got totally confused. If you look up, you see a portable surface up above.
What do you think you're doing? Do you even realize what you've done? You killed her. It's your fault. I hope you're happy now. She's dead thanks to you. Murderer.
I tried to make it sound as though sort of a kind of humanity has started forming out of him. Like the influence of Persephone on him started affecting him by this point. And so now you're back into background areas around Aperture Science. We had more of the acid flows through here, and big grids to stop people from falling into the acid. And we placed lots of doors around to make it look as though there were background areas that you couldn't reach. And so that's hence why you needed to use your portals to shoot through the grates. And sometimes you can open a door so you can get back. So as you know, semi-logical hallways, because we were not very good at designing sort of realistic scenarios. This was just supposed to be a barrier, basically separating two different areas, like what is essentially janitorial space. Yeah, and just sort of cool open spaces with doors around to make it look as natural as we could. But of course, yeah, you got to use. Oh, and something that you were supposed to be able to see, but I never seemed to figure out how to get it to work properly. And that was having turrets fall through into the acid, with the intention of like melting the turrets down. So you had a little viewing platform up here, and you can do something stupid and like hop down if you want and kill yourself. But yeah, some more doors. But we had this like big sort of loud door that opens here with the intention that this is like shielding from the reactor that's in here. This visually looked really cool when we first made it, but I can't help but notice bits and pieces that bothered me, like the random rotating platforms up the top there. How are they rotating? But nonetheless, I really liked the blue orb effect. I wanted it to be a bit more dense, but I loved the way that it looked at the time. It was such a cool particle effect. And this is supposed to be like the energy core. And basically, it's another manual override. Something you're only recently familiar with.
What are you doing? No, stop! You don't understand what you're doing. This facility represents everything I have worked so hard to develop. Stop! No! Please! Stop!
I really liked that effect. I don't think other people did. You can portal your way up here, but this is just supposed to be like a stairwell corridor leading back to the main part of the facility. So this is supposed to be like a security space that guards and stuff would be walking up and down. And this basically is leading. What we've done is we've supposedly, according to our story, activated a manual override to cause a meltdown, basically. Destroy the facility. Yeah. And from this point, you're back at the lobby. So yeah, you're back here, and originally there would be a red bar across here, but yeah. Your portal stays here, that's interesting. But now the door's open, you've got your companion cube, and you can escape. And there's the Aperture Science building. And it was our attempt. We crammed about as much as we could possibly cram into this space. There's a big A on top of the building there to say Aperture. We basically just designed some roads for the city. And used as much Half-Life 2 assets as we could. And just had like stuff strewn around, like a city would. But we wanted it to be, there's a little like subway down here, subway station. And the music alters depending on where you are, of course, which I thought was really cool. We do it just because we can. And yeah, we had all sorts of problems relating to the rain in the city map. But yeah, so there's a whole city that you can wander around, and of course you can place portals. That was a major part of the allure. Oh god. Yeah, when you come up here, it's really laggy. But yeah, there's the Aperture Science building. Oh, actually, that reminds me. I love doing that. Just beat the rain down. So yeah, on the far side of this building, you can find this. It's the hub world from earlier on. That's the companion cube there. This was my attempt at making the facility explode. I thought it's the best I could do. Best I could think of at the time for visual representation of the facility exploding. There's a hell of a lot of city that you can explore at that end bit, but you only have about a minute to do so. Yeah. I'll probably censor the names on this credits. Ah, but no. No, I won't, because you can all go and play this if you wish. So yeah, basically these are all my friends and I, and all the parts that we worked on, all the different sections that we were part of. We just used the camera faced directly up at the sky. There's a little inside, almost like an inside joke, a little nod to future projects that we had planned. Thank you for participating in this First Run Science funded activity. So yeah, and this screen actually isn't supposed to show up. That's interesting to know that it does. Probably actually caused by the way that steam pipe affected the load methods. Certain files clearly haven't fully translated well to the steam pipe system. But yeah, so that was the mod. I don't know what else to say. You've seen pretty much the whole thing. You've seen most of the stuff. All that's really would be left is to do behind the scenes kind of stuff. Some looks at the maps that we didn't actually end up including in the final product. One second. Okay. Yeah, so all that really would be left would be to show you some behind-the-scenes stuff. So, the companion cube is textured the way we did it. Yeah, behind-the-scenes stuff, some of the test chambers perhaps, the test maps that we made. And other than that, just the remake, the reboot that I did for Portal 2, and that would pretty much cover everything. If you're interested in trying it out, it's on ModDB. It's just, if you look up Portal Unity, I will include a link in the description of this video. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, leave a comment and ask me. I'll reply to anything that you guys post there. Yeah. You can always comment on the ModDB page as well. I do, rarely go back and check those. But yeah, I'm interested to see what you guys think. Alright. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time. Wait, that's actually Wade's outro.